Hey everybody, this is Josh here, the Great British Green Beret. Wanted to take a minute and show you my everyday carry cache belt from Wazoo Survival Gear. Right up front, I'm obligated to tell you that I'm required to at least one time call this a cache belt due to an ongoing debate that has been going on for a couple of years with the great folks over at Wazoo Survival Gear. So weigh in down below, let me know what you think. I say it's cache, they say it's cache. And you know, that's debatable, and there are some facts that I'm ignoring to make that debatable, but weigh in below, let me know how you pronounce it, how you think it should be pronounced, and if it's anything other than cache, I'll also ignore those facts as well. But comment below, let me know what you think it is, and maybe you can help settle this debate. So what I'm going to show you today is the belt as it comes, the cache belt as it comes, as well as two different kits that you can get for yours. And then in the future, I'm going to show you kind of how I personalize mine and make it my own, which is kind of what personalized means. But I'll show you what I do with mine to make it more user-friendly and more useful to me for my particular method of enjoying, recreating in the wilderness. But I'll show you how it comes first. I've got a couple of extra kits so I can show you what they come, or how they come packaged, in case you want to get some. I'll put some links below on how to get this stuff for yourself if you're interested in it. If you want to just get more information on it, you can get it from Wazoo. And then what I'll do is, because I already have this stuff in my personal belt, which we'll get into in the future, is I'll probably do a giveaway for these two kits that they sent me as examples that I could break apart for you and show you. Also, share this video out with your friends. Comment below, let me know where you stand on the cache debate. Keep it in mind that it probably should be cache, even if it isn't that in common usage. And also your comments below and questions enter you for a random drawing from this video here to be announced in the future. So make sure you like, share, comment below, and you'll be entered to win one of these kits that I'm going to talk to you about right now. All right, let's take a look at the actual belt itself. All right, so this is a really solid nylon belt, and because of the way it's constructed, obviously it's quite solid. But unlike a regular kind of money belt where you have to take it off to get into it, this one actually has slots that are closed by hook and loop closures or Velcro closures all the way around. So while you're wearing it, you can actually get down in here. You don't have to take it off to get down to some items. It's got a couple of sewn in paracord lanyards that you can use for kind of some of those smaller items. You can attach those to there. Then of course you've got a metal belt buckle that opens. Inside here it actually has a small keeper with elastic. You probably can't even see that on there. It has a small keeper with elastic in there that you can slide your signal mirror in there and keep it right underneath the buckle where it's nice and protected. And then the other side has a bottle opener on there. So next time you're at a bar, you're trying to pick up a lady and you really want to impress her, what you can do is open up her bottle for her just using your belt.
Hey baby. I don't believe I've seen you in this neck of the woods before. Let me get this for you.
If after that, if you take the container she's about to drink out of and put it that close to your junk and open this up and she doesn't rush to give you her phone number, then you can thank the guys at Wazoo. I'll put their email down here below. Thank the guys at Wazoo because they just saved you from spending the rest of your evening with a real prude. I'll talk to you quickly first about the Everyday Essentials kit. And when I'm looking at kits, I look at it in terms of essential kits, like what I need to provide for needs. So I'm always looking at what I need for fire, what I need for shelter, what I need for water, food, first aid, navigation, signal, and tools. Those are the things that I'm always looking to make sure I kind of go down that mental checklist to make sure I've got things to provide for my immediate and kind of supplementary needs in any type of emergency, any type of environment. So when I break down kits, I look at it like that. And one of the challenges I think with micro kits, kind of the Altoids 10 style micro kits, is one, coming up with something that's not, you know, setting the bar here at nothing, not looking at something that's just better than nothing. We're looking for something that's adequate. And I think Wazoo does a really good job of sourcing things in their kits that are not just better than nothing, they're actually adequate. And that's difficult to do in a micro kit. And keep in mind, everyday carry, this is something that you carry every day. This is not your primary first aid kit, or sorry, it's not your primary survival kit. It's not your primary kit that you're using. This is what you're using when you're down to this. Having said that, the stuff in here is actually adequate, and I'm going to do probably a series of videos on these because I've been using these, like I said, for quite a while. And there's actually some useful items in here, which is a challenge to do with a micro kit. So in thinking about, you know, those categories of needs and survival priorities, the things I'm trying to take care of, I'm looking at what do I have for fire. And in this case, the Everyday Essentials kit comes with a small ceramic striker and a small ferrocerium rod to actually get a spark type ignition. This is a good choice, especially if you have a lighter in your pocket. This is a good choice as a secondary way of making a fire that's not susceptible to weather conditions. Doesn't matter if it's raining, doesn't matter if it's cold. This is you know, kind of a good go-to, and these little ceramic strikers work really well. And you know, for tinder, yes, I can source natural tinder from the wild. Yes, you're going to need to do that as well. You're going to have to source sustaining fuel. You're going to have to source kindling. You're going to have to source natural tinder for this to transfer, you know, heat to, and start kind of that train of fire, that chain reaction you're going to need. You're not going to stay warm with this, but this is just kind of something to help take the spark from this rather quickly, and you know, start that chain reaction and get all the way out until you get that sustainable fire. What's interesting about these is they're actually these are first aid tinder packs or fat packs. These have, you know, inside this little straw that's been compressed down. Not only does the plastic in the straw burn, but inside is a piece of cotton that's kind of rolled up in there, and that cotton, instead of just being treated with petroleum jelly, is actually treated with triple antibiotic ointment. This kind of acts as a first aid piece of kit as well as a fire starting aid if you need it. If you don't need it, if you can process your dry natural tinder down to the point to where it'll take a spark from a ferrocerium rod, which you should be able to do in most cases, then save this for first aid, save it for a rainy day, save it for emergencies. So that is the fat packs. That's kind of what I have available for fire. I can also, you know, go into other things for fire. Anything in this kit that is made of plastic or rubber, I can use as an aid for fire starting, kind of an alternative tinder source, if you will. I've got Ranger bands on here that are rubber bands that'll burn really well. I've got the plastic, like I said, on these. I've got a couple other things that are encased in plastic straws. I can use these longer plastic straws as kind of a bellows, kind of a blower, to get my fire going. This duct tape is going to burn really well. These plastic zip ties are also going to burn. So there's a lot of different things in here that I can use to start a fire. I'm not just limited to this, but primarily, you know, the lighter in my pocket plus this is what I'm going to use for my fire kit. Now, as far as a shelter kit, every good shelter kit has something to sleep under, something to sleep on, something to sleep in, and some cordage to kind of hold it all together. It's difficult to fit a lot of that into a belt, into a micro kit. So, but we do have cordage, and what we have here is Tech-Noir Cordage. It is basically very similar to Kevlar, except that it does not, you know, violate any military patents, or it's a lot easier to source. So Tech-Noir Cordage, this is 25 feet of cordage. I could also use that for a bow drill string if I need to, as an alternative source of ignition for my fire. So I've got Tech-Noir Cordage that's primarily can be used for shelter. I can also use it for bow drills. All right, so that's kind of what I have available for shelter. I could probably use the duct tape for a few things. I could use this fishing line for a few things, and I could use these zip ties as well for some shelter applications, but primarily that falls on this Tech-Noir Cordage, and that's 25 feet. So fire shelter for water with the Everyday Essentials kit, which is kind of a smaller kit than the one I'm going to show you in a little bit, the Adventure Kit. What this has is 2 micro-pure tabs. These are made by Katahdin. These are actually water purification tablets. They're held on with a couple of Ranger bands that are useful. I could use those for fire or shelter applications as well, or just to hold things together. And then I have a food safe bag that's also heat resistant, you know, kind of like an oven bag for a turkey. But this is actually a container, and I can actually not only use the tabs to purify inside that, but I can also boil water in this and reuse it several times. So this is kind of a little miniature emergency water kit that I think is outstanding. So that's for water. Now, as far as food is not going to be that much of a priority, but I still do like to eat, and I like to have things in my kit that I can use in order to secure food. Obviously, if I want to do traps and snares, I've got the Tech-Noir Cordage that I can use. I could use this braided fishing line right here. Let me see how much is in here. Let's see, 40 feet of braided fishing line inside this straw, and again, I can use this straw as a blower for my fire. So I've got that. I could use that for gear repair as well. And then inside this straw, I've actually got 3 split shot sinkers. I've got 3 small fishing hooks, it looks like, maybe 4, can't tell. No, 3. I've got 3 small fishing hooks, and I've got 2 safety pins, which I can use for gear repair and some other things as well. That's what's inside that straw. So as far as food procurement goes, I've got some land-based trapping that I can do, and I've got some water-based fishing that I can do, and I can do, you know, kind of passive and active means. So that is definitely a decent little trapping and fishing kit for something that's made to fit inside of a belt. Continuing on, fire, shelter, water, food, as well as gear repair. I can use the Tech-Noir Cordage, I can use the braided fishing line, I can use the safety pins in here for gear or clothing repair, and then there's also a small magnetized needle inside here, and that's important for a couple of different things. I can use that needle for gear repair, but also the only thing you really have in this Everyday Essentials kit that you could possibly use for navigation is that magnetized needle, and that's a couple of techniques for a video later on. But using that magnetized needle and this braided fishing line, I could make a compass with that. I'll show you how to do that in the future. So that is kind of going in the same vein of the gear repair, as well as using this duct tape. I can use that for some first aid applications, which is also another video, as well as gear repair. Zip ties, kind of the same thing. I can use those zip ties to fix things. Then on to signal. Really for signals, your primary and most useful signal is most likely in areas where you can have one, is most likely going to be your signal fire. But you also have, you know, orange zip ties here that you can use as trail markers, and then universally you have an audible whistle that you can use. That's an active signal, but it's audible, so it works day or night. So if you had to choose one signal, it would be the ability to start. If you had to choose 2 signals, it would be the ability to start a fire to use as a signal fire that can be seen day or night, smoke, olfactory, all kinds of different aspects of signal, as well as audible with a whistle, you know, that allows you to get someone's attention and day or night, and hopefully be found if you're in that type of emergency. So this is the Everyday Essentials kit. All right, now moving on to the more robust and what I feel is more complete adventure kit, as far as complete for everything that I like to do when I recreate in the great out of doors. This has everything that you had in the Everyday Essentials kit with a couple of upgrades, plus a few items. So we'll go over those rather quickly. Same thing, fire, shelter, water, food, first aid, signal, navigation. Those are all things, as well as tools, that I'm looking for in a great kit. This one I think really nails that down for a micro kit. It does a really good job. So anyway, for fire, I've got still the same ferrocerium rod, but now instead of that small ceramic striker, I've actually got this small ceramic blade, ceramic knife, that gives me just a little more versatility as far as that tool. Yes, it still works 90-degree spine on the back, but it's also got a sharp edge. Yes, it still works as a ferrocerium rod striker, but it also has that cutting edge on it as well, so that's a little more handy in my opinion. I still have my 3 first aid tinder packs, but now in addition to the tools I've got inside this straw, I've got a wire saw that can be used to kind of help bust down some kindling, bust down some lumber to get myself a good fire going. Also could be used for shelter applications if I need to get poles for my shelter. This is a great way to do it for such a small package. This is what you would go with. Still got 25 feet of Tech-Noir Cordage for that shelter as well. So fire and shelter, that's kind of taken care of. Now the water kit in the adventure kit over the everyday essentials kit that I showed you earlier is very similar. It's a little more robust in that you have the 2 water purification tablets, the Katahdin MicroPures. Instead of 2 Ranger bands, you've actually got 3, so those are useful for a number of things. But you also still have the food safe, high temperature rated bag that you can boil water in, as well as use as a container to use these tablets. But in this one, you also have a water pre-filter, sort of like a coffee filter almost, to remove debris and keep that out of your bag, which I'll show you in a future video when I actually get into using some of these things. So more robust water kit. As far as food, you still have a lot of the same items. As far as food, you've got the same, obviously Tech-Noir braided fishing line. You've got the same hooks and sinkers that you can use for that. But you've also got this brass snare wire. This is a pretty heavy gauge brass wire. This is 15 feet. I've actually used this trapping. It's a nice heavy gauge, and it's actually put into this tube in such a way that it doesn't kink up the wire so that you end up breaking it where you don't want it to. They did a good job on that, and that gives you an additional tube as well as the saw does. Here, turkeys. It gives you an additional tube to use for, anyway, brass snare wire that you can use for trapping. And that opens up a lot more options as well. So for trapping, for shelters, for gear repair, what have you. So fire, shelter, water, food. I swear I hear turkeys. All right, back to where I was after hearing those turkeys there. Fire, shelter, water, food kit. This kit has been enhanced by the addition of that snare wire, which it is 15 feet of snare wire, so it's reasonable to expect that I can get, 3 to 5 snares out of this wire. And of course, I still have my other options as far as active and passive, land-based and water-based, with the Tech-Noir Cordage, the braided fishing line, the hooks and the sinkers. That's all still in here. For gear repair, I still have that magnetized needle, this fishing line. I can also use that brass snare wire, of course, and the Tech-Noir. For gear repair, still have the duct tape, still have the 2 zip ties. Those zip ties are also brightly colored, so I could use those going into the signals portion of this. I could use those to mark trails. And I still have the audible whistle and the ability to make signal fires as well, just like I did with the other kit. This one also has a small thumb light that you can use for signaling at nighttime. That's a nighttime active signal. And then it adds a small signal mirror that you can use for an active daytime signal, as well as these, which I think are a really cool idea. Not only can I use those to keep my water container shut, but these are basically bread ties, you know, that you pull apart and you'd use like a twist tie for a bread, but they're brightly colored on one side and they're reflective on the other, so those will actually glint if light hits them at night. So that's another way you can mark trails and use that as kind of a passive signal to either find your way back or lead someone to you on a trail. A lot of good uses for those. I think these are really cool, and of course they pack extremely flat, you know, in order to fit into the belt. So great addition there. So fire, shelter, water, food, some gear repair, some signal, first aid, of course, with the first aid Tinder packs, and using the needle along with this thread or the Tech-Noir Cordage along with the tape is another technique for some non-invasive suturing techniques you could use for wound closure. And I say suturing, but it's more it's not suturing. It's a different technique that's non-invasive, doesn't involve putting a needle in anyone's skin in the wilderness by untrained hands without having any sort of local anesthetic or antibiotics present. Anyway, so all of that, plus you get a button compass here that you can use for navigation on top of the magnetized needle with the thread, which we'll talk about in another video. So that is the Adventure Kit, 22 different items in here. The Everyday Essentials Kit has about 15 items, so you've got a couple of upgrades in here, as well as some additional items that make for a more complete kit, in my opinion. All right, so everyday carry counts on you carrying it every day. So the easiest way to do that is to integrate it into things you're already wearing and using every day. I know some folks that use wallets because you carry that every day. Some folks use a certain type of pants, cargo pants, that they fill the pockets, they load the same stuff in every single day. This is a really good way. A lot of folks wear a belt, so this is a really good way to integrate your everyday carry into something that you're going to carry every day, because you count on that in an emergency. So this is the Wazoo cash belt, which I'll get into in the future of how I use mine and kind of what I put in mine, as well as a quick look at their Everyday Essentials 15-piece kit and the more robust Adventure Kit, 22 items in this one. So if you want to win one of these kits, go ahead and make sure that you like, comment below, and share this out so that more people can see it. And we appreciate that. So we will get you the links to all of this stuff down in the description below. For those of you that don't win, you can still get it from Wazoo. These are outstanding pieces of kit. So I am going to close out with that. Appreciate your likes, appreciate your views, appreciate your comments and your questions. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and look for more videos in the future on this and several other topics. Thanks for watching. Honestly, I do think it's cash in English for those of us here in America, but because I have more culture than the folks over at Wazoo Survival Gear, you know, in Spanish, it's actually El Cache. That's what I'm going with. I'm more cultured than they are.